The IOC seems to have had an awakening now, and they want to keep the Olympics set to sex categories. Hello and welcome back to Chat About It, Don't Shout About It with me, Rachel, the Queen of the Woke, as crowned by one of my haters.
I crown you Queen of the Woke!
Let's chat about it. Last week, the BBC released an article about sex testing at the Olympics, and believe me, after the last fiasco, this is very much welcoming news. I covered it on this channel extensively when Iman Khalif and Lin Yuting were both allowed to compete in the Olympics despite failing sex tests previously. It is alleged that they both have differences in sexual development, otherwise known as DSD, but they themselves have not confirmed this. Please let me know what you think in the comments section below about this particular decision, and please do keep it friendly in the chat. Olympic women's sports limited to biological females. The women's category of Olympic sports will be limited to biological females from 2028. The International Olympic Committee, IOC, says eligibility will be determined by a once-in-a-lifetime sex test, which would prevent transgender women and those with differences in sexual development, DSD, who have gone through male puberty, from competing. It will take effect from the Los Angeles Olympics. IOC President Kirsty Coventry said the policy was the result of a review led by medical experts. At the Olympic Games, even the smallest margins can be the difference between victory and defeat, she said. So it is absolutely clear that it would not be fair for biological males to compete in the female category. In addition, in some sports, it would simply not be safe. And of course, vice versa, which is what the majority of people have said to begin with. Even with a game like snooker, there will still be some small advantage with reach and power behind the cue. The IOC said eligibility for the female category would be determined by a screening to detect the SRY gene, the sex-determining region Y gene, which is part of the Y chromosome and causes male characteristics to develop. The IOC considers the SRY gene screening via saliva, cheek swab, or blood sample is unintrusive compared to other possible methods, it said. The IOC, athletes who fail the test would continue to be included in all other classifications for which they qualify. For example, they are eligible for any male category, including in a designated male slot within any mixed category and any open category, or in sports and events that do not classify athletes by sex. Okay, this is fine. This is absolutely fine. They would be excluded from the games. They would not be excluded from the games, excuse me. They would just be expected to compete in the category that matches their biological sex. This would mean that Lin Yuting and Iman Khalif would have to compete in the male category should they fail their tests. Now, I will be clear that I don't believe Khalif to be trans. All right, it's illegal to be trans in Khalif's country anyway. So I don't know what the impact would be for Khalif as a boxer due to being brought up as female. We may not see Khalif at the next Olympics, despite what Khalif is saying. Khalif is stating that she would take the test for LA 28. That's what she has said. So they carry on with this in the article. Until this announcement, the IOC left sex eligibility regulations to governing bodies of individual sports rather than applying a universal approach. While athletes swimming, cycling, and rowing have brought in bans, many others allow transgender women to compete in female competition if they lowered their testosterone levels. New Zealand Laurel Hubbard became the first openly transgender woman to compete at an Olympics after being selected for the women's weightlift team at Tokyo 2020. But by the Paris 2024 Games, there were not known to be any transgender women competing in female events. There was, however, controversy in the boxing after Algeria's Iman Khalif won the women's welterweight boxing gold medal, and of course Ling Yuting won hers. a year after being disqualified from the World Championships for reportedly failing a gender eligibility test. You see, this is part of the problem. Leaving it up to the governing bodies allows for inconsistency throughout the games. So one rule for one and one rule for another, which is why the IOC should have the mandatory once-in-a-lifetime sex testing that is going to be done for the Olympics. The article then goes on to say this: how the IOC reached its decision. The IOC said its working group reviewed the latest scientific evidence over the past 18 months, which said it showed a clear consensus that male sex provides a performance advantage in all sports. Okay, and events that rely on strength, power, and endurance. It consulted a wide range of experts in relevant fields and online athlete survey that had more than 1,100 responses. Interviews were also conducted with impacted athletes from around the world. The IOC said feedback from the athlete consultation revealed that although nuances exist across sex and gender, region, and athlete status, active, retired, there was a strong consensus that fairness and safety in the female category required a clear science-based eligibility rules, and that protecting the female category is a common priority, which is what we have been saying. And it is good to see that the IOC is reintroducing these sex testing methods. One of the reasons why separating men and women's sports in the Olympics was purposely done because of safety and fairness. It's also why we have the Paralympics, okay? So that people with disabilities are able to compete fairly. We in recent years seem to have actually forgotten what it was about. We have forgotten how to go about sports. Hey, you know what? I am all for transgender people and people with DSD having their own categories and competing against each other if that's what they would like to do. The decision that the IOC made was correct, in my opinion. That's what I think. Let me know what you think. Chat about it, don't shout about it. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching today. Don't forget you can join me on my other platforms as well. I've got YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, X, TikTok, Instagram, Locals, Substack, and I also have a Discord. Everything is linked below.